At the 10th anniversary celebration of Ju Corporation, Ju Yangchuan slapped me hard across the face in front of directors, journalists, and a hall full of relatives and friends, all because Wen Ning, with red-rimmed eyes, claimed I deliberately spilled red wine on her dress, humiliating her on stage. I didn't cry, I didn't explain, I just took off my wedding ring, slipped it into my clutch, and sent a message to Wan Tang: cancel the guarantee, prepare for divorce. The lights at Ju Corporation's 10th anniversary celebration were blindingly bright, so bright that when Ju Yanchuan's slap landed, I could clearly see the sapphire cufflink on his sleeve, the one I gave him last year. Back then, he'd said, "Kai Wu, without you, there would be no Ju Corporation today." But now, standing below the stage, shielding Wen Ning, his gaze was as cold as if he were looking at a stranger causing a scene. Wen Ning's white gown was stained with a large patch of red wine. Her eyes were red, her fingers clutching the hem of her dress, her voice soft enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Yangchuan, forget it, Sister Kai Wu probably didn't mean it." The more she said forget it, the quieter the room grew. I stood before her, my hands empty. That glass of wine wasn't mine to spill, I hadn't even touched it. Wen Ning had walked over with the glass, her shoulder lightly brushing mine, and the cup tipped from her hand, the liquid splashing onto her own dress. She looked at me, a faint smile flickering in her eyes. Only I saw it. The next second, her eyes were red. Ju Yangchuan strode over. His first words weren't to ask if I was okay. He said, "Kai Wu, haven't you caused enough trouble?" I looked at him. "You think I did it?" He lowered his voice. "Do you know what occasion this is? With so many shareholders and media, do you have to embarrass me?" Before I could respond, my mother-in-law, Yarolan, pushed through the crowd. Seeing Wen Ning's dress, she immediately frowned. "Kai Wu, how can you be so thoughtless?" Ning was representing Ju Corporation on stage today. Ruining her dress is ruining Yanchuan's face. I let out a faint laugh. "I didn't touch her." Ju Yanchuan's expression darkened. "Everyone saw you standing right in front of her." I said, "Standing in front of her means I spilled the wine." When Ning gently tugged at his sleeve, "Yangchuan, don't blame Sister Kai Wu. She might just be upset that you let me go on stage." That hit harder than the red wine. The entire room's gaze shifted. Someone whispered, "So it's jealousy." Another said, "Mrs. Ju has kept a low profile all these years. Didn't expect her to have such a temper." Some looked at me, some at Wen Ning, others looked at Ju Yangchuan. Ju Yangchuan cares most about face. He could tolerate the company losing money, but he couldn't stand his dignity being torn down by me. He stared at me. "Apologize." I looked back at him. To whom? To Wen Ning. I suddenly found it absurd. 10 years ago, when Ju Yanchuan's startup failed, he sat on the floor of our rented apartment, clutching a stack of rejected funding proposals. He'd said, "Kai Wu, I'll never let you suffer in this life." Now, standing in the celebration he built with his own hands, he wanted me to apologize to the woman who set me up. I said, "I won't apologize." The last thread in Ju Yanchuan's patience snapped. He raised his hand, a sharp slap rang out. The music in the hall kept playing, but I couldn't hear a thing. As my head turned, my lip hit my teeth, and I tasted a hint of blood. The entire hall fell dead silent. When Ning gasped, as if shocked, my mother-in-law reacted first, quickly stepping in front of Ju Yangchuan and forcing a smile at the journalists. "Just a little marital spat. Please don't take photos. Don't take photos." I slowly turned my head back. Ju Yangchuan was frozen too, staring at his own hand as if he hadn't expected himself to actually strike. A few seconds later, he resumed his composed CEO demeanor. "Kai Wu, don't blow this out of proportion." I looked down and saw the wedding ring still on my finger. That ring was bought by Ju Yangchuan with his first profit. It wasn't expensive, but back then, I thought it was heavier than any jewelry. I took the ring off. Yarolan immediately frowned. "What are you doing? With all these people here, are you trying to threaten Yangchuan?" I didn't answer. I pulled a tissue from my clutch, wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, and tucked the ring into the innermost layer of my bag. Ju Yangchuan reached for me. "Kai Wu, let's go to the lounge first." I dodged his hand. "Ju Yangchuan, a lot of people saw that slap tonight." His face darkened. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone and opened Wan Tang's chat. Wan Tang was my college classmate and a divorce lawyer. She'd urged me many times over the years. She'd say, "Kai Wu, Don't let yourself become the Ju family's invisible asset. I used to always say, wait a little longer, wait until Ju Corporation stabilizes, until Yangchuan isn't so tired, until my mother-in-law stops nitpicking, until when Ning learns her boundaries. But what I got instead was that slap. I typed, Wan Tang, start divorce preparations, first, remove all joint guarantees under my name, freeze authorization for Ju family household expenses, organize the premarital capital agreement and the equity proxy confirmation letter. After sending it, I looked up. Ju Yangchuan was still staring at me. He thought I was just throwing a tantrum. He lowered his voice. If you walk out now, every media outlet tomorrow will write about discord between the Jews. Kai Wu, have some sense of the bigger picture. The bigger picture. He loved using that word to pressure me. When the company needed financing, he made me sign unlimited joint guarantees, saying it was for the bigger picture. When his mother wanted to live in a villa, he had me use my premarital fund to cover it, saying it was for the bigger picture. When Ning returned to the country, he arranged for her to be his special assistant and told me not to overthink it, also saying it was for the bigger picture. I nodded, fine. Ju Yangchuan visibly relaxed, but the next second, I picked up the microphone from the table beside me. All eyes in the room turned back to me. Ju Yangchuan's expression shifted. Kai Wu. I pressed the switch. A faint static hummed through the speakers. I stood at the base of the steps, half my face still flushed red. Sorry to interrupt, everyone. No one spoke. I looked at Ju Yangchuan. Today is Ju Corporation's 10th anniversary. As Ju Yangchuan's wife, I wish Ju Corporation a bright future. Ju Yangchuan's tense shoulders eased slightly. Even when Ning showed a hint of relief, I continued. And I also wish President Ju, starting tonight, learns to take responsibility for every decision he makes. Ju Yangchuan's face instantly changed. I set the microphone back and turned to leave. This time, he didn't chase after me, because the reporters were filming, because the shareholders were watching, because his dignity mattered far more than his wife. As I reached the banquet hall's entrance, I heard low murmurs behind me. What did Mrs. Ju mean by that? Is she really going to divorce him? Divorce? Ju Corporation is worth tens of billions now. Would she give that up? I pushed the door open. The night wind rushed in. The pain on my face finally became clear. I didn't cry. I just opened my banking app and turned off the first automatic transfer. Pei, Yarolan, note, daily expenses for the old residents, closed successfully. Second item, Ju family villa property fees, closed successfully. Third item, Ju Yangchuan's private jet maintenance fee, closed successfully. Fourth item, rent advance for the apartment under Ning's name. I stared at that line and let out a faint smile. Turns out, some accounts you don't check, you never know. I clicked close. The screen prompted, are you sure you want to terminate this authorization? I pressed confirm at the same time. Wan Tang replied, finally awake. I answered, yeah. Did he hit you? Yes. Get a medical exam, file a report, and keep a list of witnesses from the public setting. Don't be afraid. I'll fight this all the way for you. I put my phone away and walked down the steps. Behind me, the banquet hall blazed with lights. I didn't look back, because I knew it all too well. From this moment on, Ju Yangchuan had lost more than just a wife. He had lost the one person who cleaned up every mess he left behind. The hospital lights were colder than the banquet halls. The emergency room doctor saw the handprint on my face and glanced up at me. Domestic violence, I said. Yes. The doctor paused, softening his tone. Do you need to file a police report? I nodded. Yes. I used to be terrified of making a scene, afraid of affecting Ju Yangchuan, afraid of affecting the Ju Corporation, afraid my mother-in-law would say I wasn't taking care of the family, afraid outsiders would call me a drama queen as Mrs. Ju. But today, I wasn't afraid anymore. The nurse took photos for the record, and the doctor issued a medical certificate. Soft tissue contusion on the cheek, laceration inside the mouth. The injury wasn't severe, but the evidence was enough. When Wan Tang arrived at the hospital, she was still holding a jacket. She saw the red mark on my face, and her eyes turned cold instantly. Ju Yangchuan did this. I nodded. She draped the jacket over my shoulders. 10 years. Kai Wu, you finally pulled yourself out of the mud. I didn't argue, because she was right. Ju Yangchuan and I weren't always like this. He used to be good, In the early days of starting the business, when his stomach acted up, he'd crouch in the stairwell of the office building to throw up, and I'd buy him medicine. When the first deal fell through, he sat on the curb in silence. And I transferred my savings to him, telling him to hold on for 3 more months. When the company was first rejected for a bank loan, he said he just needed a guarantor. I signed. Back then, I thought marriage was about carrying the load together. Later, I realized that if someone gets used to you carrying everything, they forget you can hurt too. Won Tang spread out a folder. I did a quick look at what you sent me tonight. You have 3 types of risks under your name that need to be cut off immediately. I sat up straight. Go on. First, the early loans from Ju Corporation. You're the joint guarantor. Even though the contract has a release clause, Ju Yangchuan never went through the formal process to release you all these years. Second, the Ju family's household expenses are basically tied to your personal account and premarital fund, including his mother, his sister, and part of Wen Ning's expenses. Third, the equity nominee arrangement. You put some of your original shares under his name back then to avoid affecting his external fundraising. Do you still have the agreement? Yes, I took a USB drive out of my bag. The digital copies and scans are here, and the paper copies are in the safe in my study. Won Tang took it. Good, starting tonight. Don't sign anything, don't answer calls from the Ju family, and keep all communication in writing. She looked at me. And you need to move out, I said. Tonight. Won Tang nodded with satisfaction. That's more like you. When I came out of the hospital, my phone was almost blown up. 27 missed calls from Ju Yangchuan, 18 from Yaolan, 9 from my sister-in-law Ju Yuan, 1 WeChat message from Wen Ning, Sister Kai Wu. What happened tonight really isn't what I wanted to see. Yangchuan just cares too much about the company. Don't blame him. I stared at that message, took a screenshot, and saved it without replying. Ju Yangchuan's call came in again. I hung up. He switched to WeChat. Where are you? Kai Wu, don't make a scene. Why did the property management fee fail to deduct? Why did the rent for Wen Ning's apartment stop? What do you mean? When I saw the last line, I froze. Won Tang saw it too. She let out a cold laugh. He finally feels the pain. I replied with 2 words, literally. Ju Yangchuan responded instantly. Do you know what time it is? Ju Corporation just had the celebration banquet, and the bank is reviewing the credit line next week. You're pulling this now, trying to ruin me. I stared at the screen. So in his mind, me getting hit wasn't the issue. The property fee being cut off and the rent being stopped, that was the issue. I typed Ju Yangchuan. I am no longer obligated to cover the personal expenses for your mother, your sister, and your special assistant, he replied quickly. When Ning's apartment was arranged by the company, I opened that deduction record. The lease contract was signed by Wen Ning, but the pair was me. The note was filled in as Ju Yangchuan instructed. At the time, he said Wen Ning had just returned from abroad and had no stable place to stay, so I should front the cost first. I asked why not use the company account, and he said the company's accounting process was too cumbersome. I believed him. Now it's clear it wasn't cumbersome, it was shady. I sent the screenshot over. If it was arranged by the company, why was it deducted from my premarital account? There was a long silence on his end. Then he sent, Kai Wu, do you have to be so petty? I laughed. Won Tang looked at me and asked what he said. I handed her the phone. She cursed. Unbelievable. I didn't reply. The car stopped outside our wedding home. This apartment was bought in the first year of our marriage. I paid 70% of the down payment, and both our names were on the deed. I oversaw the renovation, even the desk in his study. I flew to Italy 3 times to pick out. I used to think this was home, but when I pushed the door open, it just felt empty. The housekeeper saw me and jumped. Madam, what happened to your face? I said. I fell. She didn't press, just whispered, Mister, Ju hasn't come back yet. It's fine. I'm just packing. I didn't take much. Documents, contracts, a few clothes, a brooch my mother left me, and the original files from the safe. When I opened the safe, I saw our wedding photo sitting on the top shelf. In it, Ju Yangchuan had his arm around me, smiling cleanly. I stared for a few seconds, then flipped the photo over. Beneath it were the files, the pre-marital funding agreement, the equity proxy confirmation, the personal guarantee supplement, the early capital flow records of the Ju Group, and a thick family ledger. From the first year of marriage to now, I recorded every major expense: Yarrow Land's villa, Ju Yuan's tuition, the medical bills for Ju Yanchuan's father before he died, the renovation costs of the Ju family estate, and the temporary relocation fees after when Ning returned. Back then, I kept the ledger to keep our life straight. Now, it's become my way out. I packed the files into a box. Just as I reached the living room, the door opened. Ju Yangchuan was back. His suit jacket was draped over his arm, his face etched with exhaustion and anger. When he saw the box in my hands, his expression darkened. "Where are you going?" I said. "Moving out." He closed the door. "Kai Wu, hitting you tonight was wrong of me. But you're not blameless either." I looked at him. "What did I do wrong?" "You shouldn't have targeted Wen Ning in that setting." I set the box down. "Ju Yangchuan, I'll say it again, I didn't spill wine on her." He rubbed his brow. "She had no reason to ruin her own dress," I said. "So I had a reason to ruin my own face." He was silent. A few seconds later, his tone softened. "Let's move past this. Tomorrow, you put out a statement saying our argument was just a misunderstanding, and go apologize to Wen Ning." I almost laughed. "You hit me, and I have to apologize. Kai Wu, the Jew group can't afford bad press right now. Then why didn't you think about that before you raised your hand?" His eyes turned cold. "Are you really going to dredge up the past?" I nodded. "Yes." I bent down and picked up the box again. "Starting tonight, I'm going to dig up every single account." Ju Yangchuan blocked the door. "Don't forget, the Jew group's current valuation includes your share. If the company goes down, you won't come out clean either." I looked at him. "You're wrong. The clearest thing I've learned in the past 10 years is which of Ju's assets are real and which are bubbles I've been propping up." A crack finally appeared in his expression. I walked to the door. "Move." He didn't budge. I took out my phone, dialed Wan Tang, and put it on speaker. "Lawyer Wan, Mr. Ju won't let me leave the wedding house." Wan Tang's voice came through calmly. "Mr. Ju, MS. Kai Wu has already filed a medical examination report tonight. If you continue to restrict her from leaving, I'll advise her to call the police immediately." Ju Yanchuan's face darkened to an extreme. He stepped aside. I dragged my suitcase out. As the elevator doors closed, I heard him say from outside, "Kai Wu, you'll regret this." I looked at myself in the mirror. There was still a handprint on my face, but my eyes were steady. I murmured softly, "The one who regrets won't be me." The next afternoon, Yarrow Lan called me personally. I didn't answer. She sent a string of voice messages. "Kai Wu, have you grown wings? What's the big deal if Yangchuan hit you? Married life has its bumps, doesn't it? You cut off the family funds and had the old estate's property management come after me. Are you trying to embarrass the Ju family? Come back to the old house for dinner tonight and sort this out. Ning will be there too. Apologize to her, and we'll let this slide." I listened, took screenshots, saved them, and forwarded them to Wan Tang. Wan Tang replied with one word, "Good," she said. Many people oppress others not with a knife, but with the phrase "we're all family." But as long as words and voice recordings are kept, these aren't just emotions anymore, they become evidence. At 7 in the evening, I arrived at the Ju family's old house. This old house was originally quite run down. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Yarrow Lan said it wasn't decent to live in, and Ju Yangchuan, being filial, wanted to renovate it. At that time, the company had just gotten through a funding round, and cash flow was tight, so I took 30 million from my pre-marriage account. Yarrow Lan accepted the money with a warm smile. "Kai Wu, you're so sensible. A woman, once married, is part of the family. Don't be so clear about boundaries." Later, when the house was renovated and relatives came to visit, Yarrow Lan told everyone, "My son felt sorry for me and had it specially renovated." She never mentioned me once. I heard it at the time and just smiled. Looking back now, that wasn't generosity, it was me lowering myself. The dining room was full. Yarrow Lan sat at the head of the table. Ju Yangchuan sat to her right. Wen Ning sat next to Ju Yangchuan, wearing a light blue sweater, her face pale, as if she were the one who had been bullied last night. Her sister-in-law Ju Yuan was also there. As soon as she saw me, she rolled her eyes. "Sister-in-law, you finally showed up. Do you know how embarrassed Mom was today? The property management even called me." I pulled out a chair and sat down. "Paying the property fees isn't my obligation." Ju Yuan exploded. "You've been married to my brother for years, eating and using the Ju family's things, and now you say it's not your obligation." I looked at her. The sports car you bought last year. I paid the final installment. Her face stiffened. Yarolan slammed her chopsticks hard on the table. Kai Wu, are you here to settle old scores today? I nodded. Yes. The dining room fell silent for a moment. Zhu Yangchuan frowned. Kai Wu, don't go too far. I opened my bag and took out that ledger, black cover, edges worn from use. I placed it on the table. Since everyone's here, let's settle the Zhu family's accounts tonight. When Ning said softly, Sister Kai Wu, family doesn't need to be like this, does it? I turned to her. Miss Wen, you're not part of the Zhu family. Her face went pale. Zhu Yangchuan immediately looked at me. Why are you targeting her? I flipped open the first page of the ledger. First year of marriage, initial payment for the Zhu family old house renovation, 30 million yuan, paid by Kai Wu. Second page, Yarolan's personal medical account, annual fixed transfer of 2 million yuan for 8 years, totaling 16 million, Zhu yuan study abroad expenses, tuition, accommodation, living costs, and vehicle purchase, total 14.8 million. Zhu Yuan's face flushed red. You're lying. That money was given to me by my brother. I pulled out a copy of the bank transaction records and slid them in front of her. Do you recognize the account number at the end? Zhu Yuan glanced at it and fell silent. Yarolan's expression shifted from anger to displeasure. Why are you keeping track of this? Are you guarding against us? I smiled. I'm just keeping accounts. After all, every time you asked for money, you said you'd pay it back later. Yarolan was choked off. Zhu Yangchuan finally spoke. Enough. I looked at him. He took a document from beside him and placed it in front of me. Kai Wu, let's cool off for a while. If you insist on a divorce, fine. But the company can't have trouble right now. I looked down. The title of the document was clear. Divorce agreement. I flipped through 2 pages. Real estate goes to Zhu Yangchuan. Zhu Corporation shares go to Zhu Yangchuan. Marital debts are shared equally. I leave with nothing. I let out a laugh. Zhu Yangchuan, you slap me in the face and then make me leave with nothing, he said. This is just a temporary plan. Once the company stabilizes, I'll compensate you. How familiar those words were. Wait for the company to stabilize. Wait for the project to end. Wait for the funding to come through. Wait for the IPO. I waited 10 years. I waited until he brought Wen Ning back. Until I became someone he could sacrifice at will. I closed the agreement. I'm not signing. Yarolan immediately screeched. Why won't you sign? Zhu Corporation is my son's life's work, and you still want to take a share. I pulled out another document. The initial seed funding for Zhu Corporation came from my premarital assets. I placed the premarital capital contribution agreement on the table. The first 3 patent licenses for Zhu Corporation were signed by me. I then took out the shareholding confirmation document, and the so-called original shares of Zhu Corporation that you're all talking about. 18.6% of them are held by Zhu Yangchuan on my behalf. Zhu Yangchuan's face changed. He lowered his voice. Kai Wu, why are you bringing these out? I looked at him. Aren't you asking for a divorce? A divorce means settling things clearly. When Ning also panicked, she clearly didn't know any of this. In her eyes, I was probably just a jobless wife. A woman kept at home by Zhu Yangchuan. She didn't know that when Zhu Yangchuan was at his lowest, I was the one standing behind him. She didn't know that I wasn't someone who relied on marriage to survive. Zhu Yangchuan stared at me, his eyes carrying a genuine warning for the first time. Kai Wu, do you know what going public with this means for Zhu Corporation? I said, I do, and you still want to do it. I'm not trying to destroy Zhu Corporation. I pushed the agreement to leave with nothing back to him. I'm just refusing to let you keep swallowing me up. Yarolan's chest heaved with anger. Yangchuan, look at her. This is the good wife you married. Zhu Yangchuan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his voice was cold and hard. How much do you want? I said calmly. I want what belongs to me. And, I looked at him. I won't sign the annual bank guarantee renewal tomorrow. At these words, Zhu Yangchuan's face darkened completely. Yarolan still didn't understand. What guarantee? Zhu Yangchuan didn't answer her. He stared at me. Kai Wu, don't joke about the company. I stood up. I'm not joking. I put the ledger back into my bag. I'm just starting today by no longer taking on risks for a man who would hit me. When Ning suddenly stood up, tears falling, Sister Kai Wu, is it all because of me? If it is, I can leave the company. Please don't pressure Yangchuan like this. I looked at her. Wen Ning, don't rush. She froze. I said, we'll settle your account in the next chapter. The tears on her face froze midstream. I turned and walked away. Behind me, Zhu Yangchuan didn't call my name for the first time. He must have finally realized I wasn't throwing a tantrum, I was pulling back, and he was already standing on the edge of a cliff. On the morning of the third day, Zhu Yangchuan came to find me in person. I was staying in an apartment Wan Tang had arranged for me. The doorbell rang for a long time. I saw him through the peephole but didn't open the door. He sent me a message. The bank will be at the company at 10. You have to come. I replied, I'm not a Jew Corp employee. He answered quickly, you're the guarantor. I stared at those 4 words and laughed. He used to never mention this in front of others. Everyone said Zhu Yangchuan built his business from scratch, with sharp instincts and a firm hand. No one knew that he got his initial bank loan because I used my premarital assets and personal credit as collateral. Later, as the company grew, he became more reluctant to bring it up. It would tarnish his business legend. Now that he needed my signature, he suddenly remembered I was the guarantor. I changed into a black suit and went to Jew Corp. The receptionist froze when she saw me. Madam, I said, call me MS Kai. Her face flushed, and she quickly pressed the elevator button. When I walked into the top floor meeting room, it was packed. Bank representatives, legal team, finance director, several board members, and Zhu Yangchuan. Wen Ning stood behind him, holding documents. When she saw me, a flicker of unease crossed her eyes. Zhu Yangchuan pointed to a seat beside him. Sit. I didn't sit. I stood on the other side of the conference table. Where are the documents? The finance director slid a stack of materials toward me. MS Kai, this is the annual credit renewal confirmation. Same process as last year. You just need to sign on the last page. I flipped through it. The last page already had a tab, and the signature line read my name, Kai Wu. I stared at those 2 characters and suddenly remembered last year. When I signed this document last year, Zhu Yangchuan was out of town accompanying Wen Ning to an industry forum. He said, honey, thanks for the trouble. I'll make it up to you with a meal when I'm back. That meal never happened. I closed the document. I'm not signing. The room went silent. Instantly the bank representative frowned. MS Kai, do you have objections to the terms? I pulled out a supplementary agreement. According to this agreement signed 3 years ago, if Jew Corp's debt-to-asset ratio exceeds the agreed range, or if new external guarantees are made without my written disclosure, I have the right to unilaterally terminate subsequent joint guarantees. The bank representative took it, his expression turning serious. He flipped through a few pages and looked at Zhu Yangchuan. Mr. Zhu, we haven't received this agreement before. Zhu Yangchuan's gaze was icy. It's an internal agreement between my wife and me, I said, but when you use my signature as external credit collateral, it's no longer an internal agreement. A board member asked in a low voice. Mr. Zhu, what new guarantee is MS Kai referring to? I looked at the finance director. Last month, Jew Corp provided an 80 million guarantee for Wen's supply chain. There's no confirmation of my knowledge in the board minutes. Wen Ning's face turned pale. Wen's supply chain was her cousin's company. Zhu Yangchuan once told me it was just an ordinary partner. Now it seemed too coincidental. The finance director's forehead was sweating. This was approved by Mr. Zhu Yangchuan said coldly. It was a business necessity. I nodded. Business necessity is fine, but you can't use my name as collateral. The bank representative looked at Zhu Yangchuan. Mr. Zhu, if MS Kai terminates the guarantee, we'll need to reassess Jew Corp's credit. At those words, the atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Several board members began exchanging glances. Zhu Yangchuan suppressed his anger. Kai Wu, let's talk outside. I didn't move. We'll talk right here. His jaw tightened. Do you have to embarrass me? I countered. When you hit me at the banquet, did you ever think about how embarrassed I was? No one spoke. When Ning said softly, Sister Kai Wu, this isn't the time for personal matters. The company has so many people here, all relying on the Jew group to make a living. I looked at her. Then tell your cousin's company not to let the Jew group be their guarantor. When Ning's face flushed red, I don't know about this. I pulled out a reimbursement form. You don't know. It was for the business entertainment expenses of the Wen family supply chain. Handler, Wen Ning, approver, Zhu Yangchuan. I placed the paper on the table. Miss Wen, do you not know about the guarantee? Or do you not know that someone has to foot the bill? For all this money in the end, she bit her lip, tears threatening to spill again. Ju Yangchuan stood up. Kai Wu, that's enough. I looked at him. Not yet. I took out a second document from my bag. Also, I'm formally notifying the Ju Group that, starting today, you are prohibited from using the 3 patents I authorized before marriage as financing materials. Whether to renew the authorization will be discussed after the divorce property settlement is complete. The bank representatives' face grew darker. The board members couldn't sit still. Someone asked, President Ju, aren't those 3 patents company-owned assets? I said, no. I looked at that board member. Back when the company was strapped for cash, to facilitate financing, I authorized the Ju Group to use them. The authorization period was 5 years, renewed annually after expiration. Last year's renewal document was sent to me by President Ju via email for my signature. This year, I'm not renewing. Ju Yangchuan finally showed a hint of panic, faint, but I saw it. He lowered his voice. Kai Wu, don't bring marital conflicts into the company. I smiled. Ju Yangchuan, when you needed my signature, I was the guarantor. When you don't need me to speak, I'm the one bringing marital conflicts into the company. His face turned ugly. I picked up my bag. I've said my piece. For the follow-up documents, please send them to my lawyer. I turned to leave. At the entrance of the meeting room, Yuji stood there. She was the secretary to the board of the Ju Group. A long time ago, when she was just an intern, she had seen me staying up late in the meeting room revising financing materials. Later, when I stepped back, she had always been polite to me. She looked at me and gave a slight nod. I nodded back. As I walked out of the meeting room, I heard an argument erupt inside. The bank representative demanded a new due diligence. The board members demanded Ju Yangchuan explain the Wen family guarantee. The CFO said cash flow pressure was high. Ju Yangchuan's voice was very low. When Ning cried, saying she didn't know, I stood in the elevator and pressed the button for the first floor. My phone buzzed. Yuji sent a message. MS, Kai, regarding the authorization documents you mentioned. I have the meeting minutes from over the years here. If needed, I can provide them to your lawyer as per regulations. I replied, thank you, follow the procedure. She replied, you're finally back. Looking at those words, my eyes suddenly felt a little hot, not because of Ju Yangchuan, but because I finally remembered that I, too, used to be someone who could stand in front of a conference table. I wasn't just the long-suffering Mrs. Ju, I was Kai Wu. The elevator doors opened. In the lobby, the giant poster for the Ju Group's 10th anniversary hadn't been taken down yet. Ju Yangchuan stood in the center of the poster, full of ambition. The slogan read, walking together for 10 years, heading toward the next glory. I paused for a second, then I walked out. That was his glory. It wasn't mine anymore. Wan Tang's law firm was by the river. At 3 in the afternoon, sunlight streamed into the meeting room. The table was covered with documents. Ruan Tang sorted the reimbursement forms related to Wen Ning into 3 piles. First pile, normal job-related reimbursements. She patted the thinnest stack. Second pile, clearly exceeding job authority. The middle stack was thick. Third pile, heavily overlapping with personal life. The last stack was the thickest. I picked up one of them, a foreign hotel suite, occupant. Wen Ning. The companion column was left blank. Approver, Ju Yangchuan. Remarks, business reception. Yet on the same day, Ju Yangchuan told me he was in an overseas closed-door meeting. Too busy to take my calls. I flipped to another page. Custom jewelry. Purpose, gift for a partner. Recipient, Wen Ning. I'd seen her wear that necklace. Then there was formal wear rental, a private driver, apartment, soft furnishings, designer bags, a beauty spa. The amounts weren't particularly outrageous, but stacked one after another, they were enough to turn my stomach. Wan Tang said, those aren't the whole problem. The real trouble is that some of the money went through your personal account. I looked up. She slid a sheet toward me. Ju Yangchuan had you front the rent and renovation costs for Wen Ning's apartment, plus some so-called temporary travel subsidies. The notes are vague, but the chat logs match up. I opened my old phone. I'd kept it all along. It was full of messages from Ju Yangchuan. Wen Ning just got back. Help her with the rent first. I'll reimburse you through the company later. Ning's not well. Cover the driver's fees from your end. Don't let a girl struggle too much. Honey, you're the most understanding. Don't make a fuss with her. Back then, reading these, I just felt a knot in my chest, but I told myself Ju Yangchuan wasn't that kind of person. He was just sentimental, he was just stressed, he just saw Wen Ning as an old friend. Now I see. It wasn't that he was good at lying, it was that I was too good at making excuses for him, Wan Tang said. This money can be used as evidence of marital asset transfer. Also, after you were hit, when he made you issue that statement, keep those messages too. I nodded. She glanced at me. You're handling this better than I expected. I said, maybe I'm past the point of hurting. It was true before that slap landed. I still had illusions. I thought Ju Yangchuan was just blinded by Wen Ning. I thought he still cared about me, but that slap shattered every last one. The worst state is half awake. Once you're fully awake, it doesn't hurt anymore. At 5 in the afternoon, Ju Yangchuan called. I didn't answer. He sent a message. You're auditing Wen Ning's accounts. I replied, I'm auditing my money. He shot back, this will destroy her. I stared at that line, and the last shred of warmth inside me died. I typed, when she was spending my money, why weren't you afraid of destroying me? He didn't reply. Half an hour later, when Ning posted on Moments, the picture showed a hand with an 4 drip. The caption read, some misunderstandings I won't explain. The clear will see clearly. I just hope no more innocent people get hurt because of me. Beneath it, comments poured in. Ning Ning, don't cry, Mrs. Ju is really going too far. The wife making a scene is just ugly to watch. Ju Yuan liked it. Yarolan liked it too. I stared at that post for a few seconds. Wan Tang asked, want to respond? I shook my head. Not now. When Ning's specialty was playing the victim, the more I defended myself, the more she'd look like I was bullying her. What I needed to do wasn't fight her with words, I needed to let the numbers speak. That evening, Yuji sent me a compressed file. Inside was a directory of meeting minutes from past years. She didn't overstep by giving me internal materials, just listed the file numbers. Available for external access, with application procedures noted. Very professional, very clean. I forwarded it to Wan Tang. Wan Tang replied, that's enough, send the lawyer's letter tomorrow. The next morning, the finance department at Ju Corporation received the lawyer's letter. It demanded an audit of all expenses fronted from Kai Wu's personal account during Wen Ning's tenure. It demanded an immediate halt to any expenditures authorized under the name Mrs. Ju. It demanded the preservation of all related approval documents. Within 10 minutes of the letter being sent, Ju Yangchuan called. I answered. His voice was icy. Kai Wu, do you have to take this all the way? I stood by the window. I'm just taking back what's mine. Are you short of this money? I laughed. So she can spend it. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Then he said, when Ning has been depressed, don't push her. My grip on the phone tightened. Ju Yangchuan, you hit me, and you're worried about whether she'll be pushed. Kai Wu, don't bother saying my name. I stared out the window. You'd better remind her to return what she shouldn't have taken, he said. And if I don't, I said, then we'll see you in court. He hung up that evening. When Ning posted another update on her Moments, no text this time, just a photo of a charity gala invitation. She deliberately revealed the names on it, Mr. Ju Yangchuan and MS. When Ning, I stared at those words. Wan Tang saw it too. She sneered, is she trying to go public and take your place? I said, no, she's trying to make me lose it in public. The charity gala was Ju Corp's most important image-building event of the year. For the past 5 years, I'd drafted all the donation plans, where the money came from, whose name it was under, which organizations were reliable, which projects could be tracked long-term. I'd vetted every detail. Ju Yangchuan just showed up on stage. The public thought he was passionate about charity, but he couldn't even remember which city the aid projects were in this year. When Ning wanted to take my seat, she thought it was an honor, but she didn't know that under that chair, there was nothing but debts. I pulled out my phone and messaged the foundation director. Send me this year's authorization documents for the Ju Corp Charity Fund. He replied quickly, MS, Kai. The Ju Corp office submitted a change request this year to replace the cosigner with MS. When Ning, we haven't approved it yet and we're about to confirm with you. I smiled, don't approve it. Also, suspend all donations I've personally advanced under my name this year. He was surprised. MS, Kai, are you sure? I typed 2 words, I'm sure. The river outside the window was still. I knew the next act was about to begin. When Ning wanted to step on me to secure her place at the charity gala, let her see whose path she was really treading on the day of the charity gala, Ju Yangchuan didn't pick me up. He probably thought I wouldn't go, or rather, he hoped I wouldn't, but I was determined to go. At 8 in the evening, I wore a black long dress and walked into the venue alone. At the entrance, by the sign-in board, there were many reporters. When Ning was posing for photos, holding Ju Yangchuan's arm, she wore a white gown, her makeup delicate, and around her neck was that corporate gift necklace. The light fell on her, and she smiled gently. Someone whispered, "Is that the CEO's special assistant?" I heard. "She's been accompanying him to a lot of events lately. And his wife, isn't she filing for divorce?" When Ning heard it, a hint of smugness flickering in her eyes, she looked up, saw me, and her smile froze. Ju Yangchuan saw me too. He let go of Ning's hand and walked toward me. "What are you doing here?" I said. "I received an invitation." He lowered his voice. "Kai Wu, don't cause a scene tonight." I looked at him. "When you talk to me now, it's always those two words, don't cause a scene. As if all my justified pain, anger, and retaliation are just scenes to you." When Ning walked over and said softly, "Sister Kai Wu, don't misunderstand, I'm only here tonight representing Ju Corp's charity projects." I glanced at the necklace around her neck, representing charity with personal jewelry. Her face turned pale. Ju Yangchuan frowned. "Kai Wu." I ignored him and walked straight inside. After the gala began, the host came on stage to introduce the annual donation projects on the big screen. Ju Corp's promotional video played. Children, schools, hospitals, mountain areas, scholarships. The images were warm, the music touching. Ju Yangchuan sat in the front row, his demeanor steady. When Ning sat beside him, like the future mistress of the house, Yarolan sat nearby with Ju's relatives. When she saw me, she snorted coldly. "You actually have the nerve to show up," Ju Yuan chimed in. "Sister-in-law, I suggest you behave tonight. This isn't a place for you to throw a tantrum." I picked up my water glass and took a sip. "Don't worry, I won't throw a tantrum, I'm just here to settle accounts." When the host announced the annual public welfare donor, his voice grew especially impassioned. "Next, let's welcome Mr. Ju Yangchuan, Chairman and CEO of Ju Group and MS." When Ning, representative of Ju's public welfare project, to the stage, applause erupted. When Ning stood up, her dress sweeping across the floor, as she walked to the stage, she glanced back at me. That glance was light, but it carried provocation. Ju Yangchuan also stepped onto the stage. The host handed them a symbolic donation plaque, with the amount, 200 million. The applause grew louder. When Ning took the microphone, her voice soft. "Public welfare has always been Ju Group's core commitment. Mr. Ju often says that as a company grows, it must not forget its social responsibility. I'm honored to be part of such a project." After speaking, she looked at Ju Yangchuan, her eyes full of admiration. Some in the audience applauded. I watched her. She really played her part well. If I hadn't known how every donation over the past 5 years was made, I might have believed it too. The host continued. "We also want to thank the family behind Ju Group who has been silently contributing." The camera suddenly panned to me, and my face appeared on the big screen. There was a moment of commotion in the venue. When Ning's hand gripping the microphone tightened, Ju Yangchuan frowned. The host clearly read from a new script. "Special thanks to MS Kai Wu. Over the past 5 years, Ju Group's Public Welfare Fund has been primarily co-initiated under MS Kai Wu's personal name, and she has long been responsible for project selection, fund supervision, and follow-up visits." When Ning's expression changed, Ju Yangchuan turned to look at the staff. The host continued. "However, just before tonight's event began, the foundation received an official notice from MS Kai Wu, due to Ju Group's unauthorized application to change the co-signatory and failure to provide a complete explanation of fund sources. The donation amount originally scheduled to be advanced under MS Kai Wu's name this year will be suspended." The entire venue fell silent. The amount on the big screen still read 200 million, like a massive joke. Ju Yangchuan's face turned ashen. When Ning froze on stage, the host was clearly embarrassed but had to continue. The foundation stated that Ju Group can still complete the donation process on its own. Translated, that meant, Kai Wu won't pay for Ju Group anymore. "You'll have to foot the bill yourselves." Whispers began to spread in the audience. "What does this mean? It was Mrs. Ju who paid before, so when Mr. Ju accepted the award every year, Wen Ning sounded so touching just now. But the money hasn't even been secured. Yarolan couldn't sit still. She strode over to me, lowering her voice as she cursed. Kai Wu, are you crazy? You're making Yangchuan lose face in front of everyone. I looked up. The money is mine, and I have the right to suspend it. Once you marry into the Zhu family, your money is the Zhu family's. I set down my water glass. Ms. Yarrow, during the divorce proceedings. Please watch your words. Yarolan trembled with rage. Zhu Yuan also rushed over. You're just jealous of sister Wen Ning. You can't stand seeing a younger, prettier woman by my brother's side. I looked at her. Zhu Yuan, the beauty card I paid for last month, I've also suspended it. Her voice cut off abruptly. The relatives nearby looked at her differently. Zhu Yuan's face instantly flushed red. I stood up. If any of you think I'm being petty, feel free to chip in and cover the 200 million for Zhu Group yourselves. No one spoke on stage. Zhu Yangchuan had already come down. He walked up to me, his voice low and menacing. Did you plan this in advance? I said. I'm just refusing to let you keep using my name without permission. You're forcing me to this point. I looked at him. Zhu Yangchuan, you're the one who forced me here. When Ning walked down as well, her eyes were red. Kai Wu, you know tonight is crucial for the Zhu Group. Why do you have to do this? I looked at the necklace around her neck. Is that necklace pretty? She froze. I said. The reimbursement slip says it's a gift for a partner. If it's a gift, why is it around your neck? The air around us went dead silent when Ning instinctively covered the necklace. Zhu Yanchuan's face darkened. Even more. Kai Wu, don't bring this up here. I pulled a photocopy from my bag. You approved it. I handed it to him. Nice signature. Zhu Yangchuan didn't take it when Ning's tears finally fell. I don't know how that got reimbursed. Maybe the admin made a mistake. I nodded, then let the admin explain. I turned to the foundation director. Sorry for the trouble tonight. I'll continue my personal charity projects separately from now on, no longer tied to the Zhu Group. The director nodded. Immediately, Ms. Kai, we respect your decision. At those words, Zhu Yanchuan's face completely fell, because it meant even the foundation knew who was really getting things done. The banquet ended early. The reporters didn't swarm Zhu Yangchuan. They were all waiting for his explanation. As I walked out of the hotel, Zhu Yangchuan chased after me. Kai Wu, I stopped. He stood on the steps, his eyes burning with anger and panic. What do you want? I said. A divorce. He stared at me. Anything but. Divorce. I shook my head. There's no anything but. He was silent for a long time, then he said, you weren't like this before. I smiled. Before, I loved you. The wind blew, a little cold. I looked at him, word by word. Now I don't. His face went pale for a moment. I turned and got into the car just before the door closed. I saw Wen Ning standing at the hotel entrance. She wasn't crying anymore. The way she looked at Zhu Yangchuan, for the first time, had panic mixed in with her scheming. She must have realized it too. A Zhu Yangchuan without Kai Wu to back him up wasn't as solid as she thought. 7 days after I moved out, Zhu Yangchuan returned to our wedding home. That's what the housekeeper told me later. She said he remarked the place felt empty. Half the walk-in closet was gone. The safe in the study was empty too. He stood at the master bedroom door for a long time, and finally just picked up the wedding photo from the nightstand. The housekeeper said he asked her, did the missus leave any message? She said no, actually. I did leave something in the study drawer, a lawyer's letter, a wedding ring, and a piece of paper with just one sentence. Zhu Yangchuan, don't try to borrow a future from me using old feelings. That night, he came to find me. I had just gotten back from the law firm. As I drove into the underground garage, I saw him standing by the elevator. He was wearing a dark grey coat, his face etched with exhaustion. He rarely waited for me like this before. I was always the one waiting for him to finish a meeting, waiting for him to come back from a business dinner, waiting for him to spare a moment from Wen Ning to remember me. Now it was his turn to wait, but I no longer needed it. I parked the car, grabbed my bag, and got out. He walked over. Kai Wu, let's talk, I said. Talk to my lawyer. He blocked my way. Do we really have to end up like this? I looked at him. You started it. He closed his eyes. I lost control that day. I'm sorry. That apology came too late, and it was too late. I said, I don't accept it. His Adam's apple bobbed. You weren't like this before. You weren't hitting me before. He was silent. The lights in the underground garage were harsh and white. They highlighted the dark circles under his eyes. The pressure on the Jew group must have been heavy lately. Bank review, fund suspension, board inquiries, Wen Ning's bills, and divorce proceedings. In the past, I shielded him from all of this. Now, I'm gone. He finally feels the sting. But this isn't love. It's the sense of loss, he said. Kai Wu, I admit, I've neglected you these past few years. I can handle the Wen Ning matter. Come back, and we'll start over. I almost laughed. How do you plan to handle it? He immediately replied, I can transfer her out of the president's office. Just a transfer. She's been with the company for so long. I can't just fire her abruptly. I nodded. So you're still protecting her? He frowned. It's not protection. It's handling things by the book. I looked at him. Ju Yangchuan, you won't even pay a price to coax me. That sentence stung him. Kai Wu, you can't expect me to ruin an employee's career over a marital dispute, so you can ruin my dignity over a single sentence from her. He fell silent. I walked around him toward the elevator. He suddenly said, you filed for asset preservation. I stopped. Of course, everything before was just a lead-up. This was his real purpose. I turned around. Yes, you've frozen some of my shares and accounts. The court is handling it according to the law. His gaze turned cold. Kai Wu, Ju Corporation's cash flow is tight right now. Doing this will make things even harder for the company. I said, the preservation I applied for targets assets suspected of being transferred during the marriage, not Ju Corporation's normal operating accounts, but the public won't see it that way. That's your problem. He finally lost his composure. Are you determined to destroy me? I looked at him. He's asked this question many times, as if his failures were all my fault for not continuing to endure. I took a step closer. Ju Yangchuan, I'm not destroying you. I'm just taking back my money, my credit, and my name from you. His eyes widened in shock. I continued, if you can't stand without those, it means you were always standing on me. That sentence made his face turn an ugly shade. The elevator arrived. I held the door open. Also, the source of the down payment for the apartment under Wen Ning's name has been traced. His expression shifted noticeably. I knew he understood. That money came from our joint marital account. He thought that by routing it through 2 layers of company reimbursement and personal advances, no one would find out, but money flows. And it always leaves a trail, I said. The court will ask. The elevator doors closed. I saw Ju Yangchuan standing outside, for the first time, not chasing after me the next day. Wan Tang told me that Ju Yangchuan's side had submitted a mediation proposal. He said he was willing to compensate me with 50 million. The conditions were to withdraw the asset preservation, stop investigating Wen Ning's bills, and not make the guarantee release public. Wan Tang asked me, how should I respond? I said, no mediation. Wan Tang smiled. I knew it. I looked down at the documents. 50 million, a huge sum of money, but the risks I've taken for Ju Yangchuan over the years can no longer be erased by 50 million. More importantly, I don't want compensation. I want a settlement. In the afternoon, Yarolan came to my door with Ju Yuan. They didn't know where I lived. They followed Ju Yangchuan. When the doorbell rang, I saw 3 faces on the video screen. Yarolan was furious. Ju Yuan looked impatient. Wen Ning was also there, standing in the back, as if she had been forced to come. I opened the door chain. Just a crack. Yarolan started cursing. Kai Wu, do you have any conscience? Yangchuan hasn't been able to sleep properly for days because of the company, and here you are, hiding and scheming against him. I said, did I ask him to hit me? Yarolan was choked. Ju Yuan interjected, don't keep bringing up that slap. My brother already apologized. What more do you want? I looked at her. If your boyfriend hit you in public, would you tell yourself the same thing? Ju Yuan's face changed color. Don't jinx me. When Ning suddenly stepped forward, Sister Kai Wu, I came today to return the necklace to you. She took out a box. The necklace lay inside. I really didn't know about the reimbursement. When Yangchuan gave it to me, he said it was an extra gift from a partner. I didn't expect it to cause a misunderstanding. I looked at her. A misunderstanding. Her tears welled up again. If you don't like it, I won't wear it anymore. I didn't take it. Give it to the lawyer. She froze. Ju Yangchuan stood at the end of the hallway and finally spoke. Kai Wu, don't make things awkward for everyone. I looked at him through the crack in the door. The most awkward I've ever looked. Wasn't that your doing? The hallway fell silent. A neighbor's door cracked open. Someone peeking out. Yarolan hated losing face the most. She immediately lowered her voice. Kaiwu, let us in first, I said. Not convenient. Then I closed the door. A few seconds later, Yarolan's furious voice came from outside. She's lost it. She's really lost it. I leaned against the door. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just opened my phone and saved the visitor log automatically generated by the video doorbell from moments ago. It wasn't a recording or a hidden surveillance feed, just the normal log from the property's doorbell, showing the time of visit and the people on camera. Won Tang said. When necessary, it could prove harassment. I sent the file to her. She replied. Good. Keep maintaining the boundary. Boundary. I learned those two words too late, but thankfully, not too late. The Jew Corporation's trouble came a week later. First, several suppliers showed up at the door. The reason was simple. Jew Corporation had defaulted on final payments beyond what the contract allowed. They'd originally promised to settle by the end of the month, but the finance department suddenly requested a delay. If it were just one delay, the suppliers wouldn't have kicked up a fuss, but they heard the bank's credit review had been suspended, and panic set in. Soon, a crowd gathered under the Jew Corporation building. Some held up contracts, others called the media, and a few shouted, "A company this big, they can't be planning to Welsh, can they?" This hit the local financial hot list. Zhu Yangchuan didn't step forward right away. He had PR issue a statement saying the company was operating normally, and a few suppliers were exaggerating maliciously. But within 2 hours of that statement, the bank's meeting notice arrived. Won Tang forwarded the news to me. You need to go tomorrow too. The bank wants to confirm the guarantee release and the boundary of historical liability. I said, okay. The next morning, I went to the bank. In the meeting room, Zhu Yangchuan was already there. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. When Ning wasn't there, the finance director sat beside him, flipping through documents with his head down. The bank's risk control officer was named Luo. She was sharp and got straight to the point. Ms. Kai, we need to confirm 2 things today. First, whether you have formally released your subsequent joint guarantee. Second, whether you acknowledge the relevant guarantee documents submitted under your name by Jew Corporation in the past year. I said, first, confirmed release. The release notice has been served through my lawyer. Manager Luo nodded. And the second, I looked at the documents on the table. Inside were 2 renewal explanations, with my name signed on them, but I knew very well I hadn't signed them. I picked them up, studied them for a few seconds. This isn't my signature. The meeting room went quiet. Zhu Yangchuan's face changed. The finance director's head shot up. Manager Luo frowned. Ms. Kai, please confirm, I said. Confirmed. Zhu Yangchuan immediately spoke. That was an electronic process authorization. Maybe an assistant handled it on behalf. President Zhu, I cut him off. I never authorized anyone to sign guarantee documents on my behalf. Manager Luo turned to Zhu Yangchuan. President Zhu, this is a serious issue. Zhu Yangchuan's hands were under the table, his knuckles white. He stared at me. That look wasn't a plea for mercy. It was a warning. In the past, when he looked at me like that, I would soften. I would cover for him. I'd say maybe I forgot. Maybe there was a procedural misunderstanding. Maybe I had agreed. But now, I only state the facts. I didn't sign. Manager Luo had the staff pull up the process records. The handler showed. When Ning, the approver, Zhu Yangchuan, the finance director's sweat slid down his temples. He muttered. At the time, President Zhu said Ms. Kai had given verbal consent. I laughed. Verbal consent. That phrase again. The Zhu family had taken so much from me, all relying on she'll agree, my money, my time, my dignity, my credit, now even my signature. They wanted to take it that way. Manager Luo closed the file. Until the facts are confirmed, our bank will suspend the relevant credit usage and initiate an internal risk review. Those words were like a knife, cutting straight into Jew Corporation's cash flow. Zhu Yangchuan finally couldn't sit still. Manager Luo, Jew Corporation currently has several key projects in progress. Suspending credit will trigger a chain reaction. Manager Luo remained calm. President Zhu, submitting guarantee documents that are forged or unauthorized is itself a major risk. Zhu Yangchuan said nothing more. As I left the bank, he caught up to me. Kai Wu, I stopped. His voice was hoarse. Do you know the consequences of what you just said? I said, yes. Ju Corporation might have its capital chain broken because of this, but that's not because I told the truth. I turned to face him. It's because you've been propping things up with fakes for too long. His face turned ashen. I didn't forge your signature, I said. Then let the process investigate. He was silent. I looked at him. Ju Yangchuan, you weren't like this before. This time, I was the one saying that line. His eyes flickered. I continued. You were poor before, but at least you had pride. Now you have Ju Corporation, status, dignity, and you've started to think everyone else's bottom line can be a stepping stone for your climb. He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. His phone rang. It was Wen Ning. He glanced at it but didn't answer. I smiled. Answer it. You need comfort the most right now. With that, I got into my car. That afternoon, turmoil began within Ju Corporation. Suppliers demanded payment, the bank suspended credit, and the board demanded Ju Yangchuan explain the guarantee documents. Financial media started digging into Ju Corporation's expansion issues over the past 2 years. Online, people connected the charity gala incident and the slap, so the slap wasn't just on an ordinary ex-wife, but on the credit pillar behind Ju Corporation. Eating off your wife's goodwill and then hitting her, so pathetic. No wonder the divorce case is called the billion-dollar divorce. There's so much beneath the surface. Ju Yanchuan's business myth began to crack, and when Ning began to disappear, she stopped posting on social media, stopped playing the victim, and didn't even show up at the company. Yuji sent me a message. When Ning took leave, said she's not feeling well. I replied, got it. Wan Tang said, she's not sick, she's getting ready to run. Sure enough, the next day, when Ning was photographed entering another investment firm's office building, she was going for an interview. Ju Yangchuan was still cleaning up her mess, and she was already looking for her next move when that photo reached Ju Yangchuan's phone. He was being grilled at a board meeting. According to Yu Ji, his face turned deathly pale on the spot, not because of heartbreak, but because he finally realized that the things he had thrown away for Wen Ning, she wouldn't bear them with him that night. Ju Yangchuan sent me a very long message. He said he was wrong. He said he would handle the Wen Ning matter. He said he had just been under too much pressure, which was why he had become less and less like himself. He said if I was willing, he could make a public apology. I read it. I didn't reply. Half an hour later, he sent another. Kai Wu, I can't live without you. I stared at those words 10 years ago. I might have cried 5 years ago. I might have softened 1 year ago. I might have given him a chance, but now, I only find it ironic. He can't live without me. He can't live without the person who signed for him, paid for him, swallowed her pride, and held up the Ju family's dignity. But that person died the night of the celebration banquet. Under that slap, the day of the court mediation, the weather was beautiful. I arrived early. Wan Tang sat beside me, flipping through documents. They'll probably play the emotional card today, she said. I figured. I replied. Wan Tang added, or they might play the debt card. Figured that too, she smiled. So, are you ready? I nodded. Ready. 10 minutes later, Ju Yangchuan arrived. He was wearing a black suit. He looked thinner than before. Yaro Lan came too. She wasn't supposed to be in the mediation room, but she cried at the door, saying her heart was bad and she had to be present for her son's divorce. The mediator finally let her sit in. When Ning didn't show up, after being suspended and investigated by Ju Corporation, she didn't dare to appear publicly. The mediator started with the principals. Both parties have been married for many years, involving significant assets. It's recommended to communicate rationally. Ju Yangchuan looked at me. Kai Wu, I agree to the divorce. Yaro Lan's head snapped toward him. Yangchuan. Ju Yangchuan ignored her. He continued, but Ju Corporation is in a special period right now. The equity and debt issues need to be handled later. Withdraw the preservation order first, and I'll give you compensation. I asked, how much? 500 million. Yaro Lan's face changed. Yangchuan, are you crazy? Ju Yangchuan stared at me. That's enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. I laughed. President Ju, do you still think what I want is an allowance? His eyes darkened. Wan Tang pushed the documents over. We demand the division of marital property, recognition of MS, Kai's premarital investment rights, confirmation that unauthorized guarantees are invalid, and investigation into marital asset transfers. Ju Yanchuan's lawyer frowned. MS, Kai's so-called marital asset transfers currently lack sufficient evidence. Wan Tang pushed another bank statement over. The down payment for Wen Ning's apartment, 12 million yuan, 7 million came from Mr. Ju's joint marital account, 3 million was advanced from MS Kai's personal account and never repaid, and the remaining 2 million came from Ju Corporation's special budget. The mediation room fell silent. Ju Yanchuan's lawyer's face changed too. Yarolan slammed the table. That's impossible. Yangchuan, you bought a house for that woman. Ju Yanchuan's face darkened. Mom, don't talk. Yarolan refused. Didn't she say she was just an assistant? Since when does an assistant need you to buy her a house? I watched Yarolan. She finally felt the pain, not because I was betrayed, but because Ju family money had flowed into another woman's pocket. The mediator looked at Ju Yangchuan. Mr. Ju, are these funds accurate? Ju Yangchuan was silent. His lawyer spoke for him. Part of the funds were in the nature of a loan. Wan Tang asked, where's the loan contract? The other side didn't answer. Wan Tang continued, where are the repayment records? Still no answer. I pulled a printed copy of a WeChat chat from my bag. It was what Ju Yangchuan had sent me back then. Pay for Ningning's apartment first. It's not safe for a girl like her to rent outside. Don't tell Mom about this. She'll overthink. Honey, you understand. I pushed the paper over. This is what he called a loan. After Yarolan read it, her face turned a mix of pale and green. She suddenly looked at Ju Yangchuan. You used Kai Wu's money to buy a house for Wen Ning. Ju Yangchuan closed his eyes at that moment. I felt no satisfaction, only a belated sense of absurdity. Yarolan used to call me unreasonable, jealous, and intolerant of Wen Ning, but when the truth was laid out before her, she didn't feel wronged for me. She only felt sorry for the Ju family's assets. The mediator cleared their throat. Both sides, calm down. Ju Yangchuan finally spoke. Kai Wu, I can make up this money to you, I said, and the rest. He looked up. What? The guarantee for the Wen family supply chain, Wen Ning's personal reimbursements, the money your mother and sister have been drawing from my account over the years, the guarantee documents you submitted in my name. I listed them one by one. Are you going to make up for those too? His face darkened inch by inch. Are you really going to push me like this? Ju Yangchuan, I'm just reciting what you did, and you already feel pushed. His eyes reddened. We have 10 years of history. Don't you care at all? I looked at him. I did care. The first time you covered for Wen Ning, I let it slide. The first time you forgot my birthday because of her, I let it slide. The first time you made me apologize to your mother, I let it slide. The first time you had me sign a guarantee renewal, I signed it too. I paused. Ju Yangchuan, I've held on to the past too many times, so many that you thought I had no limits. His Adam's apple bobbed. Kai Wu, I cut him off. After that slap, there's no more old feelings. The mediation room was so quiet that only the rustling of papers could be heard. Just then, a knock came at the door. A staff member entered and handed the mediator a supplementary document. When Ning had submitted a written statement, she didn't come herself, but she had neatly washed her hands of it. The statement said the down payment for the apartment was a gift from Ju Yangchuan, and she was unaware of the source of the funds. The reimbursements were approved by Ju Yangchuan, and she had only followed the procedure. The Wen family supply chain guarantee was a business partnership, unrelated to her personally. Every sentence shifted the blame onto Ju Yangchuan. Yarolan finished reading, her hands trembling with rage. That bitch. How dare she? Ju Yangchuan stared at the statement, his face pale as a ghost. He had shielded Wen Ning for so long, and in return, she had thrown him under the bus without a second thought. I watched him. This wasn't something I orchestrated. This was just how things were between them. People who come together for gain will also part ways for it. The mediation failed. As I walked out of the courthouse, Yarolan suddenly caught up to me. She grabbed my arm. Kai Wu, I know I wasn't good to you before, but you and Yangchuan were husband and wife after all. That woman Wen Ning has shown her true colors. Just give Yangchuan one more chance. I looked at her hand gripping my arm. She had never spoken to me so humbly before. She only ever commanded me, save face for the Ju family, make way for Yangchuan, give Ningning some space. Now she was saying, give Yangchuan a chance. I gently pulled my hand back. Ms. Yao, didn't you think it was nothing when he hit me? Her face froze. I said, then let him face the consequences of that nothing. I walked down the steps. Ju Yangchuan stood by his car, watching me. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't because he knew no amount of words could bring it back. Ju Yangchuan holding a press conference caught me off guard, or rather, I didn't think he'd be stupid enough to do it. The day before the conference, his PR team leaked the news. The Ju Group would officially address recent rumors. The public expected him to explain the credit lines, the suppliers, and the divorce case. Wan Tang saw the preview and frowned. He might try to pin the blame on you. I said, let him try. The next afternoon, the press conference went live. I didn't go to the scene. I sat in the law firm's conference room, watching the live stream with Wan Tang on the screen. Ju Yangchuan sat on the stage. The backdrop bore the Ju Group logo. He looked haggard, but still maintained a veneer of composure. At first, he talked about the company's normal operations. The supplier issue was just a short-term communication hiccup. The bank review was a routine procedure. When the reporter asked about the divorce case, he was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, I'd rather not discuss personal feelings too much. But I must clarify that the recent series of risks Ju's Group has faced are related to the marital dispute between MS, Kai Wu, and me. Wan Tang sneered, here it comes. The reporter immediately pressed on, Mr. Ju, are you implying that MS, Kai deliberately harmed Ju's Group's operations? Ju Yangchuan didn't admit it directly. He was smart. He said, I believe she didn't mean harm. But under emotional duress, she made some less than rational decisions. Less than rational. I looked at the screen and suddenly laughed. Men are best at framing a woman's retaliation as emotion. My demand for divorce was emotion. My cancellation of guarantees was emotion. My pursuit of assets was emotion. Him hitting me was stress. Him transferring assets was helping a friend. Him submitting guarantee documents without authorization was a procedural misunderstanding. How fair? Ju Yangchuan continued, I hope the public can give us some space, and I hope Kai Wu can return to the track of rational communication. After all, we were married for 10 years, and I never intended to hurt her. Wan Tang turned off the livestream audio directly. Send the lawyer's statement, I said. Send it. 5 minutes later, Wan Tang's team released the statement. It wasn't long, just listing the facts. First, MS. Kai Wu has completed injury verification and filing regarding being slapped by Mr. Ju Yangchuan in a public setting. Second, MS. Kai Wu has legally terminated subsequent guarantees, with the relevant termination clauses already clearly stipulated in the agreement. Third, MS. Kai Wu never authorized anyone to sign guarantee documents on her behalf. Fourth, matters concerning the transfer of marital joint property, special reimbursements, and related party guarantees have entered legal proceedings. Fifth, MS. Kai Wu reserves the right to pursue related responsibilities. After the statement was released, the live stream exploded. A reporter immediately asked Ju Yangchuan on the spot. Mr. Ju, MS. Kai claims you slapped her in public. Is that true? Ju Yangchuan's face stiffened. This is a private matter. MS. Kai claims someone signed guarantee documents without authorization. Is the handler Wen Ning? Ju Yangchuan didn't answer. Is MS Wen Ning still employed at Ju's Group? Ju Yangchuan gripped the microphone tightly. The scene grew increasingly chaotic. Just then, Ju's Group's board of directors issued an internal announcement. Ju Yangchuan was temporarily suspended from his CEO position, pending a company risk review. The live stream camera was still rolling when reporters received the push notification. Someone shouted on the spot, Mr. Ju, the board just announced your suspension. Were you aware? The color drained from Ju Yangchuan's face, bit by bit. This scene was seen by the entire internet. The once lofty young CEO was suspended by the board at his own press conference. His dignity was shattered completely. Wan Tang watched the screen. Feel good. I thought about it. Not really. She looked at me. I said, I just feel like things are finally a bit fair. Ju Yangchuan didn't fall because of a single word from me. He was consumed by the debts, lies, and arrogance he had suppressed for so long. After the press conference, Ju's Group's stock price plummeted. Suppliers filed lawsuits. The risk of banks calling in loans intensified. When supply chain was also implicated in the investigation, when Ning was completely exposed. Online, her past delicate social media posts were dug up. People compared timelines and found that every time she played the victim, it coincided with Kai Wu being oppressed by the Ju family. The charity Gala necklace, the apartment down payment, the special budget, the related party guarantees. Netizens' comments were harsh. I didn't read too much. I didn't need others' insults to prove I had been hurt. At 10 in the evening, Ju Yangchuan appeared downstairs at my apartment, the property. Management called me, MS, Kai, a Mr. Ju says he wants to see you. I said, no. 10 minutes later, he sent me a message, I'm downstairs. I replied, please leave. He sent, Kai Wu. I really know I was wrong. I didn't respond. He sent another, I've already let Wen Ning go, and I'll recover the funds she took. I'll apologize to you publicly. I can give you the rest of the Ju family shares. One last message. Can you come down and see me? I stared at it for a long time. Wan Tang sat beside me. Want to see him? I shook my head. It wasn't fear of softening, it was pointless. I spent 10 years listening to him talk about the future. Now, I don't want to hear a single word. I opened my phone and replied to the property management. If he stays any longer, treat it as harassment. Half an hour later, the property said Mr. Ju had left. Rain began to fall outside the window. I stood by the window, watching the empty sidewalk under the streetlight. Suddenly, I remembered many years ago. Ju Yanchuan's first startup failure. On a rainy night just like this, he stood outside my dorm, soaked through, just to tell me he wanted to try again that day. I ran down with an umbrella and held it over his head. I said, then try again. Later, I understood. Not everyone deserves you holding an umbrella for them. Some people, once they have an umbrella, will push you into the rain. On the day the divorce verdict came down, I wore a cream white suit. Wan Tang said the color was good, like a new beginning. There were reporters at the courthouse. The Ju family scandal had blown up so big that even our divorce became a public spectacle. I didn't like the attention, but I didn't hide, because I had done nothing wrong. Ju Yangchuan arrived later than me. He had lost a lot of weight. The once perfectly tailored suit hung loose on him. Yarolan didn't come. I heard she had fallen ill. Ju Yuan didn't come either. Her sports car had been repossessed, her supplementary credit card cancelled. And she was recently borrowing money from friends everywhere. When Ning certainly wouldn't come. She was being sued by the Ju family for fraudulent expense reimbursements, cut off by her Wen relatives, and I heard she was preparing to leave the city. The people who once surrounded Ju Yangchuan had scattered one by one. Very realistic, and very ironic. The court proceedings were calmer than I expected. The domestic violence was proven by hospital diagnoses and witness testimony from public occasions. The marital asset transfers were backed by bank records and chat logs. The guarantee document dispute was handled separately. The equity holding and premarital capital contributions were supported by the court for further review. When the divorce verdict was read aloud, I didn't react much. Only when I heard the words divorce granted did my fingers relax slightly, like a rope that had been pulled tight for too long. Finally breaking, Ju Yangchuan sat across from me, head lowered. After the verdict, he called out to me. Kai Wu. I stopped. Wan Tang stood beside me, not moving far. Ju Yangchuan looked at me. I know saying anything now is too late. I said nothing. His voice was hoarse, but I still want to ask, if it weren't for that slap, would you have stayed by my side forever? I looked at him. This question was cruel, because the answer was yes. If it weren't for that slap, I might have kept lying to myself, lying that he was just confused, lying that Wen Ning was just a fling, lying that marriage required endurance, lying that 10 years of love couldn't just be thrown away. So in a way, I should thank that slap. It hurt, but it woke me up. I said, maybe. Ju Yanchuan's eyes instantly reddened. I continued, so you should be glad that I left only after you hit me. He froze. I said, if I had stayed, you would have only looked down on me more, and I would have looked down on myself more. His lips moved. I regret it. I nodded. I know. He took a step forward. Then can we? No. I cut him off. Without hesitation, no softness. Ju Yangchuan, regret isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. His tears finally fell. It was the first time I'd seen him cry. He didn't cry when his startup failed. He didn't cry when his father died. He didn't cry when his company went public. Now, he was crying. But my heart was utterly still. I said, from now on, pay off your debts properly, handle your company properly, and be a decent human being. He lowered his head and let out a bitter laugh. You're so calm. You don't even bother to curse me, I said, because I don't love you anymore. That sentence cut deeper than any curse ever could. Ju Yangchuan stood there, his face ashen. I turned and walked away. The sunlight was blinding outside the courthouse. Reporters swarmed around me. Someone asked, MS, Kai, Mr. Ju has publicly apologized. Will you consider a settlement? I paused, looked into the camera. No, then, what do you have to say about this marriage? I thought for a moment. The scariest thing in a marriage isn't one person changing their heart, it's when they enjoy your sacrifices while treating your boundaries as something to trample on. I hope everyone who's been hurt knows that leaving isn't failure. Cutting your losses in time is giving yourself back to yourself. With that, I didn't answer any more questions. Wan Tang accompanied me into the car. As the door closed, she handed me a bottle of water. Well said. I smiled. Improved. She looked at me. There's still a tough fight ahead. Equity confirmation, debt separation, guarantor liability investigation. I nodded. Let's fight. The car drove away from the courthouse. The city outside the window blurred past. A phone notification popped up. Ju Group enters restructuring. Ju Yangchuan officially removed from the executive board. Personal assets frozen due to guarantor liabilities and marital asset disputes. The headline was harsh. The fall of a billion-dollar CEO myth, a sky-high divorce case. As the final straw, I dismissed the notification. The final straw, no, what crushed Ju Yangchuan was never me. It was the greed, lies, arrogance, and recklessness he piled up, one by one. I just stopped holding it up for him. 3 months after the divorce, I moved into a new office by the river. It wasn't huge, but the sunlight was beautiful. The sign on the door read, Kai Wu Legal and Financial Aid Fund. When Wan Tang arrived, she was holding a bouquet of flowers. Congratulations, President Kai. I took the flowers. Don't call me President Kai, it sounds like Ju Yangchuan. She laughed. Then, MS, Kai, I said, that works. The fund's initial capital came from part of the marital assets I recovered. It wasn't the largest sum, but enough to get started. I didn't touch Ju Group again. The equity confirmation case was still in process. I only took back what was mine, no more, no less. Many people advised me to take over Ju Group at its lowest point, saying it was partly my effort, that I understood risk control better than Ju Yangchuan, that I could prove myself through this opportunity. I refused, not because I lacked the ability, but because I had no interest. I didn't want to tie my life to Ju Group anymore. That building held 10 years of my youth and the most humiliating slap I ever received. I could retrieve what was mine from the ruins, but I wouldn't live in them. Yarolan called me once. Her voice sounded much older. Kai Wu, I was wrong to you in the past. I didn't say it was okay. I only said, I hope you won't use the words "we're family" to pressure any woman again. She cried on the other end of the line. After I hung up, I felt neither pain nor satisfaction. In the end, people always trip over the seeds they've sown. Ju Yuan sent me a message, sister-in-law. I was immature before. I'm sorry, I replied. I'm not your sister-in-law anymore. She didn't message again. As for Wen Ning's news, I heard it through Wan Tang. She was ordered to return part of her ill-gotten gains, and her career record bore a permanent stain. She tried to paint herself as a victim deceived by Ju Yangchuan, but financial records don't cry. What she once gained through feigned weakness, she would have to give back through cold, hard facts. As for Ju Yangchuan, on the day his bankruptcy liquidation was announced, the news alerts flooded in. Former Ju's CEO Ju Yangchuan's personal assets enter liquidation proceedings. Ju's restructuring plan approved. Founder's era comes to an end. Aftermath of the sky-high divorce case. Kai Wu wins partial equity confirmation. I saw them. I didn't click that evening. The property management delivered a package. The sender's name was blank. I opened it. Inside was the wedding ring and a handwritten letter. I knew Ju Yangchuan's handwriting well. He said he was leaving the city for a while. He said he finally understood that Ju's most valuable asset wasn't its financing, its projects, or its titles. It was the trust one once gave him. He said he was returning the ring, not to ask for a reconciliation, but simply to give back the last thing that belonged to me. The last line of the letter read, Kai Wu, I'm sorry, that slap was the greatest retribution of my life. I finished reading the letter. I didn't cry. I placed the ring in a transparent box and stuck a label on it, date, location, event, like sealing away evidence, not to hold a grudge but to remind myself any relationship, the moment it starts making you lose your dignity, should be stopped. Wan Tang came to the office the next day and saw the box. Still keeping it? I said, yes. She raised an eyebrow. I smiled. Not for him, for myself. She understood that evening. I went to the riverbank alone. The wind was strong. The horizon was painted with a vast swath of orange sunset. I stood by the railing and saw my reflection in the glass curtain wall. Short hair, a suit, a straight back, no Mrs. Jew, no CEO's wife, no Kaiwu who was always cleaning up other people's messes at banquets. Just me. My phone buzzed, a message from the first person who sought help from the fund. She said her husband had hit her too. She wanted to leave but didn't know where to start. I stared at those words and slowly typed. First, go to the hospital for a medical examination. Save the bank transfer records. Don't negotiate alone. You're not alone. After sending it, I looked up at the river. Night fell. Bit by bit, the city lights flickered on. I suddenly felt that life is actually very long. Enough for a person to love the wrong one, and long enough for a person to start over. That storm, dubbed by the outside world as the $10 billion divorce, left me with nothing. Not money, not hatred, not news headlines. It left me with boundaries. It left me with freedom. It left me finally understanding that a woman's most valuable card has never been who she marries or who stands behind her. It's that after she's been shattered, she still has the strength to bend down and pick herself up. And then, step by step, walk out.